Max Ehrman. Some of you might know me better as Mysterious Max. And I served at Camp Arnis from the summer of 2009 until right up until the summer of 2018. Started as a cabin lead. Well, I started as spring staff and then a cabin leader in paintball camp. And then it was going to be just for one summer. I was going to work for a summer in Canada. Came from Colorado. Wanted to get some good Canadian experiences under my belt for just one summer. And then I got asked to come back and serve as the Challenger Guys Camp leader on the leadership team for summer 2010. Shout out to my friend Stetson back in Colorado, who joined me for that summer. And then I just kept coming back for more and ended up being the director of summer ministries, which was my dream job, although I didn't know it at the time, from summer 2012 to 2018, where I passed on the baton, but it's great to be back. What is my favorite memory of camp? Well, I have a lot. I knew this question was going to come up, so I've been thinking about this one a little bit. Came from Colorado. I had never really been experienced to Canadian life, and one of the things I was super excited about was the Northern Lights. So one of my first winter in Canada, I was just had my eyes out for the Northern Lights. I was a host for a special needs group, young adults with special needs, and we were hanging out, and I told them if I saw the Northern Lights, I was going to come wake them up and we were going to go see it, and they got all excited. Well, I went out on the lake late one night, and there was this thin, barely discernible band of like off-white on the horizon, and I proceeded to wake up every single person at like 2 a.m. to come and see these Northern Lights, which I thought were absolutely amazing. And some of these young people are like, they get a lot better than that, right? So fast forward to the next summer, and every once in a while, it must have been a really great summer for the Northern Lights. I remember one night, I lived in a cabin really close to the lake, and I was chatting with the Lord, looking at the stars in the field outside, just in the middle of camp, where we played mid-evening Mania games. And I was looking at the Milky Way, saw some shooting stars, and I was talking to the Lord, and I said, Lord, I'd love to see the Northern Lights. I've caught glimpses, but I've never really seen them like crazy, like in the photos. I'd love to see that. But I got to go to bed soon because it's, 11 o'clock at night, right after sunset, for those of you who know. And I'm going to get to bed soon, but it'd be really cool one of these days to see the Northern Lights. And just like that, the sky just lit up like crazy. And I must have been transfixed, laying on the ground just by myself, having a conversation with Jesus, like, wow, this is amazing. How'd you do this? This is so cool. But as all things happen, the like tiredness wears on, and you think like, I've got all these kids and responsibilities tomorrow morning. I better go to bed. But I said, well, unless you want to like change it up and throw another color in there, Lord. And right then, boom, we get like some other random color, and it's just spinning and so vibrant that I thought I could hear it. You just imagine you can hear them blazing away, and that went on all night long. And I finally went to bed at 5 a.m. Woke up to ring the first bell at like 6:15, 6:30 in the morning, and so later that summer, I was the leader of the Challenger boys. We'd had this tradition where I'd take the guys out into the bush, and we'd light a big old bonfire and load ourselves up with bug spray and just hang out the final night of camp after Wigwam. And we just like, what questions you got? What did you learn at camp? What are you wondering about? What do you want to keep going for yourself after camp? And that was a bit of a tradition. And we were sitting and listening to one young guy, must have been 11 or 12, talk about like, I really want to know Jesus, and I really want to believe in Jesus. I just can't find myself, like I can't make myself believe. I just have such a hard time believing. It's such a crazy story, and I just don't know if I can believe that. And another kid across the fire kind of raised his hand impatiently, and I looked at him like, this guy's sharing his heart, And then other people started raising their hand, like, I want to like answer this question for you. And I'm like, guys, come on, let's just settle down. And finally this one little guy interrupts. He's like, I hate to interrupt, but you should just look up. And all of a sudden we look up, and in this circle of trees for our little clearing, we just see the northern lights going crazier even than the night that I stayed up all night watching it. And it was just so bright that it made the firelight seem dim. And this kid just got tears in his eyes. He's like, I think that might be my sign. And that was a really cool moment. Just being able to watch the Lord come through in real time for somebody. Some really cool moments. I met my wife here. My wife, Sharia Lowen, now Sharia Ehrman. I asked her to marry me after the final day of camp. So all those of you wait for September, folks. It was actually August 27th, I think, was the day. But it was the final day of camp. I was the director of summer ministries. She was working in the tuck shop for the week. And we said goodbye to everybody and then went out for dinner and asked her to marry me. And she said yes. So another memory, I've lived in basically every one of the staff houses, but when it came time for our second daughter, we have 4 now, but our second daughter, Arrow, to be born, we figured we were basically childbirth experts. So we were going to wait until the last minute to go into the hospital. And Arrow Lark was born right here on camp property, not because we are, crazy, crunchy home birth people, but because we actually waited too long. And so we were trying to play it really coy. We didn't want all the camp staff to know. It was during teen camp at the end of summer. So campers were still here. And we wanted to be real coy and sneak away so not everybody would know when we were going to have the baby. But something about lights and sirens coming down the road to camp at 3 a.m. With ambulances coming to help us, that blew our cover a little bit. So that was really cool. Get to share that my daughter was born on her birth certificate. It says Arnis, Manitoba, not Winnipeg, not Gimli, but Arnis, Manitoba as Arrow Ehrman's birthplace, and me as the delivering physician. So that's one that we'll take with us for the rest of our lives. I got lots more camp memories. Camp is an awesome place, and you should find out. Just come and spend some time here and make some memories for yourself. And camp has helped me grow in my faith. Just by putting my faith into practice. So I would grow up, I guess I had always had this question burning in me since I was a young person. I started at camp when I was 22 and was done here when I was like 33 or something. So a real formative time in my life. I only went to camp a couple times right after I became a Christian as a teenager, but I was a little bit too old for it by that time. But working at camp has been it was just such a formative time. So I remember being a cabin leader, and for those of you who've been cabin leaders, people think you're just working at camp. You're like, oh, what a life. You go up to the lake for the summer and you hang out with kids, right? But the 23 hours a day, 6.5 days a week thing all summer long is a reality. And I just remember, I'd learned to work hard doing lots of different things, like manual labor and mental labor and just lots of things, but nothing is like being in charge, like basically the parent of 6 to 8 little people that need your attention, they need your love, they actually need to be reminded to shower, and just that responsibility made me realize that my faith isn't something that I just am for myself or maybe for the close people around me, but it actually needs to be acted out, and how I act it out can be seen and influence other people. So I'd always known about and read the verses like, pick up my cross daily and follow me if you would come after me. That's what Jesus said. And I thought, okay, well, that's for then and this is for now. But man, taking up your cross daily is what is required for taking care of kids at camp and all the other jobs. Sometimes I thought I had it easy when I was just taking care of kids and getting them to from point A to point B and teaching them how to shoot an arrow or climb the climbing wall. And some of the people doing laundry or sitting in the dining hall for like 12 hours a day in the hottest spot of camp. It requires some definitely denying of yourself and picking up your cross for the sake of other people, and other people that can't actually really say thank you. And you can get like, I've had rocks thrown at me, I've had swings taken at me, I've been called names, I've been by campers who are having a tough time, just in a rough place of life. But it's just a privilege to actually be the person in that place. And so that was one of the things that really helped me in my time working at camp, as a cabin leader and as like a unit leader. And then later, for those who worked with me as a director of summer ministries, when I was running the summer program and planning for summers and everything, I was challenged by the director at the time, executive director Will Ware, who's a huge mentor of mine, to really change my approach to leadership. And up until this point, I would let people in to help me lead things, but I wouldn't really actually give them control of something. I'd ask them for help, but then I would go and like micromanage it. And they had a funny name for it. They'd say I'd maximize things by like letting them take over, and then just 10 minutes later coming in, taking over back myself. And it came from like this deep sense of how camp run was tied to my like personal, my identity. So if camp ran well, it was because of me. And when camp didn't run well, it was because of me. So I was challenged on that, and that was pointed out to me through Will sending me on the Arrow Leadership master's level Christian leadership program, and it totally changed my point of view. I let Jesus actually do some work in me. So in one of the stories that was really influential is they said, well, like when Jesus was baptized, what did the Father say to him? And it was, my son, I love you, you are beloved, with you I'm well pleased, right? Butchering it, but and if you know this time of and place of that in Jesus' life, that's before he does any ministry, that's before he's done anything, hasn't been in the public eye at all, and he's already well loved and accepted by his Father. And if I've been adopted as a son by Jesus, then he sees me the same. The Lord sees me as an adopted son. And so I can actually operate out of a place of being accepted already instead of trying to earn my acceptance. And that like allowed me to really share leadership with a leadership team. And I basically hired 2 people to divide my role completely. And they would just tell me, this is my good friends, Erica Slako and Dixie Naylor, and they would just say, hey, it's dinner, it's done, you've had a long day, go home and be with your wife and kids. And that was like the first time I'd actually been able to kind of pace myself through leading summer a little bit. And it was really cool to know that I'd actually trained people well, that Jesus had accepted me before I had actually done any work. And it actually allowed me to be even more productive and to do more. And so that's one of the things I carried with me as I left camp and moved back to the States and just did other ministry stuff. And actually I'm trying to pass that on really well to my little kids who are going to be old enough to be campers here next summer. So I think without camp, I definitely wouldn't be the same person. Without Camp Arnes specifically, and the role that camp plays, like one of the mottos is leadership development, like empowering the next generation. And I can definitely say that Camp Arnes empowered me to be a leader in the church and in the different kingdom-minded things I'm doing right now. Okay, well, you should only get involved with camp if you're prepared to actually put your faith into practice, because you're going to actually have to ask the Holy Spirit for lots of stuff. So the fruit of the Spirit, all these things that we might ask for, like, oh, I need self-control today, or I need patience today, or I need joyfulness, or whatever, the fruit. I've found out in my time at camp, you cannot separate those out. You ask for the Spirit and he brings those out. And one of the best ways to experience the Spirit is by putting yourself in a place where you truly need him, where you're outside what you can actually do. And there's no better place than being in the middle of the wilderness with a bunch of inner city kids or just kids in general to say, wow, Jesus, I need your Spirit right now to empower me because I got nothing. I thought I was a rock star before these buses pulled up with all these kids. And now I realize I need you like nobody's business. And that's why you should get involved, because Jesus is able to do way more through you than you know is possible. And he wants to do it through you for other people. So come put yourself in a position where you can find out that Jesus and the Holy Spirit are way more powerful than you ever thought. And actually, it's so life-giving to know the story is not just about you, but it's about Jesus acting through you to the people he cares about, which are the little ones, the kids that need to hear his voice, need to hear his story, need to be loved. And there's tons of them, not just in Winnipeg, but let's start there. Winnipeg, the Interlake, all over Manitoba. There's kids coming that need to see Jesus' face, and they're going to see it through your eyes. So put yourself in that position. And even if you're not entirely sure he's going to show up, that's the best time to just say, all right, let's see what you can do with me for these kids. So that's a challenge. I say, try it out and come see if Jesus can use you at camp.